All right, everybody. Welcome to Co-Angler's Corner. My name's John Stoutinger.
I'm Cajun Rob. How y'all are tonight?
All right. So we have a special guest tonight. Michael Bell. He's from upstate New York, way upstate, almost to the Canadian border. And one of the reasons why I wanted him on, outside of him being a friend of mine, he's an excellent co-angler. He's won the New York State Bass Federation co-angler 2 times in a row. And I figured he'd be a good person to give us a little bit of insight on what it takes to be a co-angler, actually a successful co-angler, and go from there. Hope everybody's doing well with all the wind and rain. I know, Rob, you said earlier that you had some high winds.
Yeah, it's kind of calmed down a little bit, thankfully. But yeah, the temperature's about to drop here. I think we're going to be single digits first next week. So yeah, I'll have a little snow tonight, I think. Trace of snow. But we're all right. We're doing good.
Oh, okay. All right. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring Mike on, and let him do a little talk about himself, and we'll go from there. All right. Hey, Michael, how are you doing?
Hey, good. Yourself?
Not too bad, thanks. If you want to start off by giving us a little bit of background about yourself and your fishing, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. So, been tournament fishing about, I think, 7 years now. I moved and I got to a small river that I grew up on, and I just kind of fell in love with fishing then. Started getting the Bassmaster magazines, watching all the stuff, fall in love with it, thinking, hey, that'd be the dream, and kind of just kept going from there. Eventually, I got to the point where I started fishing as a co-angler in the local fed that's up here, and then kind of ventured out to some team trail stuff up to the Bass Nation, and now fishing some of the BFLs, Toyota Series, and all that fun stuff. But love for fishing has pretty much been there my whole life.
Nice.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, I think we all got that bug at a young age.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Before we go too much further, we do it a shoot from the hip type of thing here. So if anyone has any questions for Michael, Rob, or myself, don't be afraid to ask them, and we'll get right in it. So Michael and I have been friends for a couple of years now, and since he's won co-angler year back to back, I joke with him off and on, and Rob thinks it's kind of funny that I'm coming out of retirement from the Federation. I'm going to fish the Federation and unseed Michael of co-angler. I can't let him go 3 years in a row.
And I know Michael's saying to himself, yeah, that's lofty goals. Good luck.
I'm looking forward to some more people.
There you go.
He's like, good luck there. Probably thinking, hey, we need more people anyway, so I get more money when I win.
Yeah, something like that.
There you go. Now you're talking.
But no. Hey, welcome to the show, Michael. And,
Great to be here, guys. Appreciate it a lot.
Thanks for coming on. So we've mentioned it a couple times now. Co-angler back to back. What's one of the things that you feel is made you successful as a co-angler?
I mean, a big thing is just kind of adaptability and being able to do a lot of research. I mean, if you don't know what you're getting yourself into without having a boat, without being able to get on the water, see what the fish are doing, know what the fish are doing, you got to be able to find fishing reports. You got to see what tournament results are. You got to see what the bait is. You got to see your contours and avionics. You just got to do all the research you would as a boater. Go into it like you normally would as a boater, and then when you're in the back of the boat, you're just fishing for fun. You put your knowledge to work and just adjust to what the day on the water's like. Yeah. I think that's the biggest key right there, really, and just not getting inside your head.
Yeah, we got a guest on here. I think we both know this guy, TJ Dobbs.
Yes, I'd say we do. How's it going, TJ?
But no, hey, thanks for coming on, TJ, saying hi and everything. But Rick Amato says hello.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah, while you guys are saying hello, let us know where you're from. So we were talking earlier about one of the techniques that you use, drop shot. Yeah. Is there anything special you might do with it that I can steal off here to try to unseat you? Or
I mean, one thing that might just kind of be I guess, a paranoid thing to me is with the clear water up north, a lot of people are using braided fluorocarbon for the leader, and they usually just kind of go with maybe a 2 or 3 foot leader. But when you're drifting, like let's say you're drifting in the wind, you're drifting the current of the St. Lawrence, your line's kind of angled more so than just straight vertical up and down. So if you only have a few foot, your line's down there farther, and the fish might be able to see your leader line. So I have about 30, sometimes 40 foot of line tied on a fluorocarbon, be set for the day for the most part. If it starts getting twisty, I might retie my leader. And I like a little bit taller leader for the same fact. I'll go 18, 20 inches a lot of times from hook to drop shot weight, just because as it's dragging, my bait slowly gets down there. It gives it a little bit longer time before I have to worry about my hook hitting the rocks, hanging up, me trying to break off. It gives it a longer time for the fish presentation.
Nice. Hold on, let me get a pen and paper here.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
No,
while he's getting his pen and paper, now, if you got a lake with like smallmouth, and you got another lake with like more spotted and largemouth, do you change your setup on your drop shot any, or you leave it pretty much the same?
So no matter what, it kind of seems like it's about the same, unless I have it to where I'm fishing fish that are real shallow. We talked about before we got on here, I might be fishing 5 foot less. I might drop my bait right down. Same with bed fishing. If I'm bed fishing, I want my hook about as close to my sinker as I can. But relatively, 18 inches is about what it's always at. It's a good, comfortable area. It seems like it's a good feeding zone for whatever depth. If I see the fish are mid column or such, I usually switch off the drop shot. It's something that's a little bit easier to keep in there. But
Gotcha.
yeah. I know you've had a boat in the past, and is it a bigger mindset difference from being in the front of the boat or the back of the boat?
it is. Before I owned my first bass boat, my first boat really at all, the back of the boat was perfectly fine for me. It was constantly a learning thing. I was always enjoying my time on the water. I got my first boat, got my first taste as a boater. The feel, what it's like to be on the water and either make the right or the wrong decision, the rush of that. And then just learning that you learn a lot more smaller details as a boater. And then you get to the back of the boat, and much I hate to say it, maybe in a situation where you feel you might be able to do better if you were driving the boat, but that's not your case. And you gotta kind of just play the land that you got there and fish for the best and hope. I mean, that was what made it the hardest transition going back to a co-angler, was being that boater for a couple of years and having my boat blow up, and then being put in a situation where it's either I take a break for a couple of years until I can be back in that situation as a boater, or I mentally grind away and just be back in the back of the boat, keep learning from what I can, and continue that trend.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
It's definitely a big difference. I know, like when I club the fish, some of the members would want me to be up front so that they could relax and enjoy the tour, I should say.
Yeah.
And like myself, I was kind of worried about making sure they got fish as well.
Yeah, that's definitely something. I had 3 tournaments where I had a co-angler, and it was definitely more about making sure we all caught fish versus me just getting 5 and win a tournament. I've been there to where the person's looking out for himself, looking for his paycheck. There's a lot on the line for him, bigger events, smaller events, but it sucks to be in the back of the boat and have no say, and not a friendly time, to say the least, at the best.
Yeah.
But you always got to stay positive, man. Keep grinding and stay positive. I've kind of learned that, no matter. I know one of my good friends, you probably know Gary Haraguchi. He's one of the best co-anglers ever been. And he'll say, sometimes you might only get 15, 20 minutes during the day, but you better capitalize on that time.
Yeah, that's definitely very true.
Have you, in co-angling, have you fished with many guys that just live scope all day and put the trolling motor like on 9 and zigzag? I've had that happen a couple times. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, there was actually one this past year. He was live scoping, but he really was just kind of zigzagging around, and he was just fast casting, and I was struggling in the back of the boat trying to fit, because it was deep water with Champlain. It was schooling fish. So like, it was weird knowing that he's casting forward to it and you're casting to what's around. But I mean, I've had one where I was down on Pickwick Lake fishing ledges off of the point, and it was just windblown points, scoping them out, and then leaving. And you're hoping that something's just straggling around, and it's the mindset behind it is what gets you through the day. That's for sure. If you can just foresee the next fish, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
So
some live scopers I've heard, it says when they're scoping, there's fish around. They might just, they're not just fish for one, there's some around. And I know one guy actually said that if your boater brings in one fish, usually he has followers. If you can throw a drop shot kind of, not by him, but kind of close, sometimes you get a follower, straggler, and get a
feed the direction that the fish is going and kind of get ahead of it and hope something that is chasing it picks up something that it sees.
Yeah, those smallmouth get pretty competitive for sure.
That's for sure. It's fun to watch when you get an opportunity to see it in clear water. I know that.
Oh yeah. Especially when bigger fish is following it, you're like, ooh.
Yep, you get the smallest one, you're like, oh man, come on, just unhook real quick and let another one grab it. But
yep.
I actually had that for nationals this year when we were down on it's pretty bad that slipped my mind there. Lake Hartwell. We got up into a shallow flat and we're just cruising by some docks, and it broke fast, but all of a sudden I hooked one and you looked with it and there was 25, 30 pounds of fish in there and 6 fish. And I had the smallest one that was 3.5 pounds, and there was some ones that I would have took some measurements on just to know. And it's like, oh my God, it's crazy. And I think that was all largemouth. That was my first time for that. And that was a cool experience. I've seen it on the river in Champlain with smallmouth some, but that was my first time watching largemouth get competitive over stuff.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, hopefully get to have something like that again.
Definitely.
So you must be pretty excited about this New York Federation schedule, unlike myself.
It plays to my strengths for sure. It's like I said, it's different. Like we talk about having a back-to-back event, 2 separate tournaments, Saturday, Sunday. I think it's different launches, same body of water, but it'll be fun. Like I said, St. Lawrence River and Lake Champlain. That's a fun New York area to be, no matter what time of year or no matter what happens.
Yeah. You mentioned going to Pickwick. What kind of tournament was that? That
would have been the first nationals that I went down to for Bass Nation.
All right. How was that experience?
That was cool. That one really was kind of one of my first big events. Like, I don't know if I fished an open at that point. So when I got down there and seen kind of the formality behind it, all of the event planning with it, and just the level of the tournament, it kind of showed me the realization of if you want it to be a career, a job, a dream, that this is kind of more so what it's entailing versus just going out for a BFL. And it was cool. It was nice. It was a cool experience. I mean, it was current fishing. Day 1, I think I had 2 bites. I got one of them. And then day 3, I ended up having 5 fish on a frog that I couldn't get in the boat. But it was some of the best frog fishing that I've seen for bites. I was in less than a foot of water, thick, solid mat, and they just come right up on it. My boater had one that was probably 7-8 pounds, being a foot behind his frog. Never came back. But it was a good time down there.
Michael Hunt says, hey, what's up, buddy?
How's it going? Hopefully you're having a good night.
And TJ says, either of you draw me for Champlain, bring extra gas money, you're going for a ride.
Oh, boy.
He's calling the shots.
I got no complaints. I got the ski mask on.
There you go.
There you go. I don't think he's going to go all the way south, though. I think you'd be good.
Yeah, I think I'll be all right.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind drawing him.
Be some fun fishing. I have to say the least. Well, I tell you what, my heater just ran out of propane out here, and it's chilling off quick in the garage.
Oh, man.
That's all right. You're talking fishing. Warm yourself up.
Yeah, pretty much. That's why Not too worried.
Yeah. Aren't you getting ready for ice fishing up there?
Yeah, it actually just froze up. Some people started fishing this past weekend.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait, especially considering it's raining out right now. We got 40-mile-an-hour winds with supposedly 70-mile-an-hour gusts. That's going to happen tomorrow, an inch of rain. Not quite what I want before I go out on early ice.
No?
Man, that'll
No,
be a
I've
big
went
flop.
swimming twice. I'm not about to make it number 3.
No. Just send Casey out first.
Yeah, no. She makes sure when she goes out that the auger goes almost all the way through before it's putting water out. She's making sure she's going out.
Dang.
Yeah. Sorry, Casey, if you're watching. But so what are your plans for 2024? You have any idea yet, or?
Yeah, so originally I kind of was between taking a season off and enjoying some time with the family and trying to get a boat organized, but I decided that I can do that all while fishing still a little bit. So I'm going to do the Northeastern BFLs. I'm going to try and do the Toyota series that are Northeastern, and then, of course, New York Bass Nation one more time. And then if I can find a couple buddies that might want to fish in team events, throw that in for some fun and get out there. It's always just, I think those are probably my favorite events throughout the year, just getting out for a team event and fun fishing around for 5 fish or 2 of you. And you just always make memories that you talk about on podcasts or videos or whatever. So,
Yeah. Nice.
now yourself, I
those
know you've got a pretty good schedule coming.
Yeah, it's pretty much close to what you got, actually. BFLs, Bass Nation. I'm gonna fish the Champlain Toyota.
Now, were you going south for a couple as well? I thought I
Just
seen.
just the Potomac. Just the Potomac.
All right.
Yeah,
All
just
right.
the BFLs. Yeah. No, I'm not doing anything drastic this year.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Gas isn't quite back down where it needs to be before you start going super far.
Yeah. No, I'm looking at trucks, so
Yeah, that'll change it too, right there. Getting away too far.
yeah. Now I know you and I've talked in the past about different baits and techniques, and one bait I know you like throwing is something small, like a Ned rig.
Yep.
I've never caught a fish on a Ned rig.
Wait,
Do you throw it? How often do you throw it?
it will catch them. It will catch them.
I honestly, I threw it for almost an hour one day on St. Lawrence and didn't even get a bite.
It definitely has its moments and its places. I mean, I've caught more fish, I think, on Champlain, Cayuga, and Oneida on a Ned rig, either of them places, than I have the St. Lawrence. The St. Lawrence, I get them, but with the current co-angler back of the boat, I kind of just try to opt out of them bottom dragging baits a little bit more so. Unless I know I'm really in an area where the fish are feeding bottom and it's worth snagging and losing a whole bunch of Ned rigs. Other than that, I try to have it where it's not quite so much dragging fishing, but it is fun. Finesse fishing is really my strength. I enjoy it. I like my little fairy wand rods out there. My biggest fish this year was almost a 6.5 pound largemouth from Cayuga, and I caught it on a 7'1" medium light rod, spinning rod. So that was always fun.
Yeah, 6 pound test.
7.
7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it helps too. If your boater's like drop shotting, that's my next go-to. If he's drop shotting, I'm Ned rigging.
Yeah, I was about to say, having something opposite always helps. Some fish, especially up north, they always see drop shot. It's always something that's getting thrown. You just throw something a little bit different, acts a little bit different. The fish just react a lot of times.
Exactly.
Well, I think I'm just going to start throwing dynamite. Actually,
There you go. Whatever floats up, just take the penalty. Eventually, there'll be enough big ones that it just don't matter.
there you go. Hey, you don't have to close. Just don't bring them in the boat.
Yeah, there you go.
So if anyone else has any questions for Michael or Rob or myself, bring them on. We're pretty much an open book. Mike. TJ said 7 pound sunline.
Yeah, that's some good stuff.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Sometimes I'll go to 10 pound. Like when I went to the Potomac this year, I opted out for that just because I was dragging through the grass a lot. I
Yep.
wanted to be able to put a little more weight and tension on the line without worrying about it. I put a lot of tension on 7-pound and did not break, but the confidence to be able to kind of swing them in, especially no net tournaments. That's kind of a big change too for what I use for line. When I get down there for that, I'm not one of them guys that likes to reach right down. I'd rather kind of play the fish and get it in there unless I absolutely have to. So that 10-pound just kind of gives me a little more confidence to swing them in, even if they're only a couple pounds.
Yeah, talking about
Alright.
grass tournaments, I fished a Toyota in Gunnersville last year, and you'll be surprised that Nico rig actually comes through the grass pretty good. You'd be surprised. It does pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm not
I
very
like
good
that.
at but it's good.
You were supposed to mention that.
Hey, we share all the juice, man. We don't.
Yeah, no. Michael actually talked me into throwing that a couple times on Champlain.
Yeah, I've done well on Champlain, Cayuga, and I think the farthest I've used it was my first open on James River. I was throwing a Nico rig 5-inch finesse worm, and it was fun. I didn't catch giants, but I caught fish almost on every little section of trees that we went through. And it, like you said, fighting them in a little bit of outgoing tide and stuff. That was fun.
Yeah, they get you bites for sure.
Yeah, and that's sometimes the key. Doesn't matter how big they are. I've had a couple times where doesn't matter how big it was, it would have helped.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, you're not real familiar with tidal water, being in New York. What was your first experience on the James? I mean, how was that?
So practice, I didn't really get a good taste of what it's like with the tide kind of drawing out of areas. We kind of played it to where we got to areas, fished them during the better tides. We were running during the tides, not staying in places versus day one and day two. We were sitting in an area with it being high water, waiting for it to drop until it got to low and then transition. And it's crazy watching all of a sudden you've got 3 foot of water and some of the grass that you're throwing through, fishing a swim jig through, mind you, to all of a sudden it's dried up. You couldn't put a frog on it. The fish have all pulled out. You're trying to figure out where that next set of cover is. And I love the challenge of it. Like I said, every time I get to a new body of water and you see what it offers and what the challenges are, it's exciting. It makes you want to go back there, makes you want to try to conquer what you learned and then find out what your next task is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it was different for me as well. I'd rather go down there and try to learn tidal water than come up here and deal with 6 and 7 footers on Oneida.
Yeah, I definitely can say I agree there.
Yeah.
I haven't been on Champlain or Oneida in a long time when it's actually been calm versus even choppy. It's always rough.
Yeah. I don't know. TJ and I went on Oneida a couple months ago, and I think there was only about 2 footers.
That's not bad for Oneida.
That's a normal chop for Oneida.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Makes the fishing better, sadly. You have calm days and I feel like you're out there, the day just drags on waiting for the next bite.
Yeah. All right. So what is your favorite technique?
Depends, I guess. Are you talking overall? If I had
overall.
Or confidence technique.
Yeah.
I would say drop shot. All I have to do is change my weight, my hook, and my leader height, and I kind of have pretty much whatever I need to do. Doesn't matter if fish are suspending in brush, if they're on the edges of grass, or if they're out kind of fishing. It's something I can tweak around. Throw a 5-inch finesse worm, throw a 3-inch little minnow. Definitely something I've caught a majority of my fish on tournament and in general. So
Nice.
Yeah, it's hard to beat.
yeah, it is. I mean, I'm starting to become a fan of chatterbait and swim jigs. Like I said, Potomac, Champlain. Jig fishing was something I hated, and I caught a fish this year flipping again, and it gave me the feel of what the bite was actually, and not getting the bite, and it was one of them ones that made me want to get it again. So I'm excited next year to have a jig a little more in my hand, confidently saying.
Yep.
Nice.
And jig will get you a little better quality fish. That early year pre-spawn and right before spawn, I'm throwing a jig quite a bit.
Yeah, I found myself fishing jigs for smallmouth faster than I did for largemouth, to be honest with you. I found myself finessing largemouth and starting to power fish the smallmouth more. Now I'm kind of starting to venture for both, but either of it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's weird how it happened. Everything cycles through. It seems like. I know when I first started throwing jigs, I was throwing 1 ounce jigs. You know, everybody else was throwing 3/8, half. Now I'm throwing 1/2 ounce jigs more than I am 1 ounce.
Yep.
And then those people that were throwing 3/8 are now throwing 1 ounce. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's how it goes. That's how it goes.
Yep. So I've talked to you about this. When you're drop shotting and your boater's throwing, you know, you're out in 20, 25 feet of water, your boater's throwing maybe a 1/4 ounce weight, you know, letting it go down there. Do you do like I do as well and up your weight to try to get the bait down there quicker?
Yeah, so whether or not it's the St. Lawrence and he's kind of slowing himself down with the trolling motor, trying to, let's say he's spot locked on an area and he wants a lighter weight so it drags faster, but I'm in the back of the boat and I need my bait to get down there, less drag, and start moving across the bottom. 1/2 ounce is pretty much always tied on. I get in situations where Champlain or Nida I use a 1/4, but 3/8, half. I started using some 5/8 sometimes if I'm in some like serious current and we're just drifting and I'm sick of reeling up and I'd rather break off. I go to 5/8. I mean, because a lot of times you can, like I said, you can just kind of pull it off, shakes loose, and you keep going. But I definitely feel a heavier weight. I find myself with no matter what it is, Ned rig, drop shot, tube. It's just easier from the back of the boat to get down on bottom to where the fish are.
Yeah. Okay, you mentioned spot lock. Would you okay, here's a question for you. Would you rather have somebody spot lock or forward facing sonar?
Forward facing sonar. Even on a St. Lawrence.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I absolutely despise spot lock. I mean, as the back of the boat, this is the way I look at it. You only have maybe 180 degrees to cast. If he is spot locked on a bedded fish, even early season, there's only so many casts you can make to areas before you're completely stale. You throw your arm out trying to get 10 yards past to something new. Or he's just flipping or frogging a certain grass mat and you're same 180 just fan casting around and around. The mental aspect gets to you. It really does. Like I said, that's where it comes in. You got to just fish, and every cast you have a chance at a fish. But at least live scoping, you're moving around, you're looking, you're changing your direction. Spot lock, you're set. That's what you're doing.
Keep that lure wet, man. Keep that lure wet. That's all you can do.
Yeah, that really is it.
Yeah, I think I feel the same with you as you, I should say. I know when I get spot locked, I've been on the St. Lawrence a couple times and they're facing the point spot lock, and it's like, well, I can cast a little bit, but when they're casting in the 15 feet of water and you're casting in the 70, you know,
Yep.
there's only so much
you
you can do, and it plays a toll on you mentally.
Yeah, it does, especially when it's an all-day thing. I mean, sometimes you have guys that'll just get up on big flats that constantly – like that's my favorite. When I was a boater, that was what I looked for. I didn't look for little humps, little rock piles, which maybe that was my issue. I looked for a stretch that was maybe 10 minutes long with the wind or the current blowing it, and I'd drift over. It would transition a foot, 2 foot every so bit. It would just be a chunky bottom, and then – there could be fish swimming constantly through. Your chances, I feel, are up. You're around more fish. You're not focused on one specific spot that may or may not hold your fish anymore. I've gone into where you fish a hump. There's big ones on it. You don't even catch them. You pull off of it because you can tell. You go back to them and you just sit back. You try not to get even close to where you can see them, and you just spend so much time focused, and then you finally creep up and you're like, oh, there's nothing here.
Yep.
I mean, time's crucial on the water. Like I said, there's definitely times where you got to be on points. I've caught fish on points, but time on the water, you got to look at what your day is, what you're going to have, and you got to choose when to go. If it sucks being in the back of the boat when that guy is fishing, like you said, that nice break, and you're just hoping something's ready to come up out of the depths and feet on the shallow edge.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
do you feel it's an advantage or made you a better back boater co-angler having had your own boat and run the front?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of has given it gave me more confidence just working different lures. It gave me the feel to be able to go out, do drifts, do points, do edges, be able to fish all that, see how it is from the front of the boat. I mean, there was days where I fished from the back of the boat and didn't allow myself to have much control, kind of let the current, the wind do things and just set myself up how I'd want. Because there's times where I've been fortunate enough in tournaments where people would listen to me and you still can't operate the trolling motor. So your best bet is to be like, start from this point. The wind's blowing this way. We're going to drift over it, and we're just going to drag bottom and fish. So I definitely think it kind of gave me a better outlook on options when you're in the back of the boat. Definitely, because you can kind of put yourself in a position of what the boater's seeing, what he's trying to do, and then you can kind of see your options. Like Cayuga, for example, I've had a guy flipping shallow edges, and it breaks on Cayuga hard. You could be 5 foot, just grass everywhere, and as soon as you turn around, you watch the grass turn into a wall and you can't see where bottom is. It turns right off the 30 foot. And all day I was flipping, burning myself out mentally, not getting a bite. And then I just eventually turned around, threw a drop shot off, not knowing what was out there, what it was. And I caught a fish, caught my 5th fish, 5 minutes to go before weigh-in. Got second place that event. Was so fortunate, but if I'd have had an opportunity to be in there as a boater and just see what there was for layouts on the bottom, it would have made me maybe do that sooner. Could have done better. You know what I mean? It definitely allows you to kind of play your field better.
Yeah. Do you watch the graph a lot from the back of the boat if they leave them on?
Yeah, I love when they leave it on. I mean, if I've had it where a couple of guys will ask you what you want it on, and I don't care. I mean, it's sweet when it's left on, but I honestly would love to, if I'm on a St. Lawrence, just leave it on chirper map. I want to see what it is we're fishing. If we're fishing grass, no, I don't care what you do. On the Potomac, I actually had guys the whole regional event asking me, "Do you want the graph on the back?" I'm like, "No, I got a chatterbait or a swim jig or a Senko. I'm just casting, man. Don't worry about it." I'm not worried at all. There's advantages to it, but I know battery life is something as a boater you have to look forward to, because if you yield to the co-angler too much in that, and let's say you accidentally didn't get your battery charged too much and you have a dead starter and now none of you guys are getting your fish back. I see why they don't do it. I mean, I definitely can see where it is. It's nice, though. Like I said, it's nice to be able to just look down and be like, oh, yeah, I'm in 12 foot of water. Not being like, hey, dude, are we in 12 foot of water? What direction's the brake on? Then you kind of just feel like a nuisance in the back of the boat. Yeah. And that can weigh throughout the day, too.
So, I had a question for you and I forgot what it was. Like I said, I play this by the hip, so
comes and goes. When it goes, it goes.
Yeah, I'm almost twice your age, so my mind's gone already.
That's all right.
Yeah, you hit 50, you hit a wall. So yeah, we were both there.
Yeah, you have 26 years before you hit there.
23.
So yeah, I am over twice your age. But anyways, no, congratulations again on doing so well in the Federation. It's not as easy as it sounds, being co-angler. I mean, Michael Hunt, TJ, I know they're watching the show. Rob, myself, and you, we've all been co-anglers at one time. Probably everybody on the show. And, just having the opportunity to put yourself in the position of winning one co-angler of the year is tough.
Yeah. You have to get a lot of breaks for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it took me, I think, four consecutive seasons before I was even in 3. I was in an opportunity, and then I slipped right out in a tournament, missed a check, dropped out, And then mentally going to the next one, which was only a month away, I didn't recoup and did the same thing, did a mediocre finish. But to actually be up there and know no matter what, you're going to do all right, you're going to make state team, that kind of relief is off your shoulders. Now it's cool. Let's see if I can do this. And like you just said, to be able to do it twice, it was a blessing. I mean, the first tournament of the year, I only had, I think, 11 pounds, 12 pounds of smallmouth on Lake Champlain. I knew the conditions were not good. I mean, you got past Rouse's Point Bridge, you were a brave soul, brave soul. But like, you just never know. You really don't, and that's the fun of it. Like I said, I had some awesome boaters that put me around the opportunity fish that got me finishes that I did, and that's all I can say. I executed enough. There's some missed opportunities for sure this past season that I'm hoping in 2024 I can capitalize on and see what it really does. But it was blessed seasons for sure.
Yeah, you're going to need to capitalize next year.
Oh,
this year.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna have to change hooks.
No, it'll be a fun ride to the Potomac if we do end up riding down together. But
yeah,
no,
they definitely got to figure that out. I'm looking forward to that. That was one of my favorite places I've been. I mean, I used to say I absolutely hated going to largemouth fisheries, but I've got a couple of my jigs that I was using right here, sitting here, didn't know how this night would go, so I had some stuff, but it was fun. I mean, like I said, power fishing, something I don't usually do. Largemouth fishing, shallow, something I don't normally do. So it was a win. It was definitely a knowledge gain the entire time down there. So for it to go as good as it did, that's nice.
Kevin says, "You thinking 3-peat already?"
I could not even worried about how Angler of the Year goes. I'm looking forward to seeing if I'm going to get some new boaters again, meet some new people, and catch some fish. I mean, it was fun this past year. I had people that I'd never even met the past 2 years to where I got Angler of the Year. I did stuff that I didn't normally do confidently. I mean, I love the state club. It's a great group of guys, a whole bunch of hammers, and you can't afford to slip up once. You really can't.
Yeah. So what was your lowest finish this past year?
Fifth. No, I don't know. I'd actually have to look up. I had 2 that were the same, and then actually, my worst was out of check range. I think it was 8th. I was on the St. Lawrence.
wow.
Yeah.
I didn't do very good. I was right on my home body of water. But I had 2 fists this year, and then one that was about 7th or 8th, just outside of check range.
Yeah.
Last year was, I think, everything. I had a plaque in all of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, I see the hardware lined up behind you there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I wish I could put it in the house, but the old lady allows pictures more than hardware, so it gets demoted to the garage. But it
Yeah,
works.
garage.
Keeps me out here. Keeps me out here.
Maybe that's her plan.
Yeah. Hey, that's all right. I can just mess with all the fish and stuff, and if I
There
don't
you
run
go.
out of heat, it's all right. But when I start seeing my breath, I know it's time to go inside. Usually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. But no, it is. New York is, you don't think of it, but there's a lot of good fishermen in New York.
Yeah,
You know.
and really, it doesn't matter if you're a largemouth fishing in New York or smallmouth fishing. The guys are good at both, and you better be ready to go.
Yeah.
And as a co-angler, you better foresee all opportunities. Like I said, on Champlain, I had a lot of times where I was focused more on smallmouth game and found myself fishing docks and shallow situations, and I was not prepared. So that's one thing. I mean, and as a co-angler, you can't bring the whole boat. So you definitely got to be able to limit and capitalize on what you do bring.
Yeah, I used to try to bring the whole tackle shop with me, but
Yeah, I had one of those plain old guide XL, holds 7 in the middle, 3 on the side. Your boater looks at you like he wants to throw you off the boat. Did that for a little while, then I realized I'm like, I only pull about 2 trays out. Maybe I can force myself to keep just spare trays and just pile in a whole bunch of different colors. So that way my mindset is, if I want it, at least I have it. And it's not as clean and organized as I want.
yeah. Something I started to do this year or last year in the BFLs is I'd carry a spare spinning reel and bait caster. Do you do that?
No, I mean, you mean like spare setup so that you're not planning to use that's just sitting there, or
No,
just
like
keeping?
I would carry just a spare reel.
In case you
Like-
blow one up or something.
Yeah, like with my
No.
spinning rod, I would carry one with like 12-pound test on it for maybe a light spit or a 8-pound test or something in case I want to tube fish.
So I guess my question for that would be: do most of your reels do you change your size of the reel and your braid that's on a lot of them? Because
No.
if I were to go over to all my spinning rods right now, I all have one braid across them, and I just change my leader depending what little bit of cover or a little bit of fishing situation I have. So if I blow one up, typically I can just. I mean, almost all my. If I bring spinning rods, I hate to say it, they're almost all the exact same model.
Yep.
7-foot
Yeah.
one, medium. Actually, this year they're going to be changed. Up until this year, I used the 7-foot, either 6'10" or 7'1" medium light, ultra fast or extra fast. I like that little bit softer rod just because dragging bottom, sometimes it's harder to really know in the back of the boat if that was a bigger boulder you pulled over or if you just went to pull it out of a fish's mouth with a stiffer rod. So that little bit lighter rod made me feel a little more confident. I grew with it, went with it. But this year I tried a 7-foot medium rod from 13. I could tell that it had more backbone to it. Going into me using it my first time, I did not want to throw it. And I had to do it in a tournament. And one of my lines broke my leaders, so I grabbed it. So sensitive. It matched up to the ultralight. I didn't feel like I was going to sacrifice any of that detection with bite. But pretty much everything's the same for me. So I'll just switch over to another reel, tie something on real quick. I have the long leaders I usually can cut off. I don't have to retie leaders. So it saves me from, I guess, an extra reel. Allows me to put another little bag of soft plastic stuffed in my tackle bag instead or something.
Yeah.
That sick addiction still.
Okay.
Yeah, don't show up on you and you got a duffel bag on and you're carrying the boat. You'll get an evil eye then.
Yeah,
I just tell
I
them-
learned
I
that.
just
You
tell
start
them
getting
that's
to
my
bigger
lunch.
tournaments, they're not as friendly when you got that
No.
big bag. If it don't fit in the back compartment, you better have it at your feet and out of the way.
Just tell them it's your lunch and you're willing to share.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
You better make sure that you pull some lunch out of there when that
Yeah.
time comes, though. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And it not be a banana.
All right. Speaking of food, you know my wife. What's your favorite cookie?
Just chocolate chip. I'm a plain man.
There you go. That's hard to beat.
Let's say.
Yeah. I know we got some people on here that like some different ones. So
Yeah, I keep it simple. I mean, if I see maybe a double chocolate cookie, like chocolate chip with chocolate cookie, I'm not going to pass that up. But
And add ice cream on it, that's the bomb.
yeah, you know what I mean. It's got to be chocolate ice cream though, too. It's
Yeah,
just, I'm one of them guys.
it's kind of hard to bring ice cream out on the boat, you know.
Yeah,
It is.
Yeah.
That's why you ice fish. You shove it in the snowbank outside the shack. When you're ready, you take a scoop and just go.
There you
Shack.
Yeah,
Come
this
on,
year
that's
it's
not
going to be
that's not
bucket
ice
fishing.
fishing. That's not. That's like deer hunting in a garage.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, if the deer walks where the deer can get shot, that's on the deer.
Yep.
Now you hunt. Do you? Okay, I asked this question to someone else too. Do you feel hunting helps you in fishing?
I honestly do. I just started deer hunting 2 years ago, ironically enough, and I felt a lot more relaxed just in general in nature. It gave me a better touch with it. It was peaceful, whether or not I killed a deer, I harvested anything. Just being out there, I hunt a lot of state land, and a lot of it's being close to areas that I have kind of grown up fishing, have good little fishing memories at. So it kind of makes you enjoy it, whether you get on the water and then you just kind of sit back and just think about the outdoors as a whole, the respect that you have for it. It's just something, I guess, that kind of plays into it.
All right.
Yeah, and you got to think about the seasonal patterns and where they travel. So
That was something this year. I missed I missed a buck, and then I started getting really kind of technical and fancy, kind of learning where it was rutting, where it was doing all the scrapes, all the bedding, and like I said, it makes you scientific with it all. It makes you really want to study how you can get every single opportunity at its highest for you to get it. I mean, same thing with fishing. Like I talked about as a co-angler, I think the best thing you can do is just look at what's happening on the lake, look at where you're going, act like you're a boater when you fish, put all that information in. When you think it's time to scrap it and start doing something different, that's when you do it. But
yeah. All right. If there's any more questions, come on, let's get them in. We're getting ready to wind this down a little bit. We got about 14 minutes or so left before we have to say goodbye to Michael and let him go practice flipping and stuff like that. So
yeah.
What's really fun is like you find something by accident. Like on Del Hollow one year, I was flipping a jig and got a loop in my reel. Started pulling out, pulled it up, and there's a 3-pounder on there. Dead stick. And had 3 bites that day, ended up finished 5th. So I mean, just little stuff like that by accident sometimes you can pick up. But you gotta listen. You gotta listen.
Yeah. I've had that with drop shot actually, where you go to make a big far cast in the back of the boat, kind of half parallel, because if you're on the St. Lawrence, I almost feel it's practical to ask your boater, hey, with the current, if we're drifting, do you mind if I kind of cast up a little bit? Like, I'm not going to cast in front of you, but I want to give my bait a chance to get down before it's right beside me. I have to reel in. Yeah. And I think they respect that. They give you a better chance at kind of doing that. And like I said, I've had it where you go to bomb a cast out and all of a sudden your braid backlashes on a windy day. And you're sitting there trying to get it, and eventually you can't. But then you reel it in, and you're hooked up on a fish, and you're like, well, if that's the case, and I haven't moved, my bait was just laying on the bottom. It sunk from my leader to the bottom, and that's when that fish bit it. And that's when you're like, so maybe if I shorten my leader down, and then all of a sudden there's more bites, and you just keep improving on your day and putting patterns together. Doesn't matter, I feel, what pattern you go into. It's always changing slightly to get better. There's always something you can do from the day before that's going to improve it, and that might better your chance at that big bite.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's a big key is paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah, Potomac, I learned that was a hard way. A fish spit up some stuff right by the boat, and then all of a sudden I looked at my live well 10 minutes later and seen it spit up some more and kind of figured out what it was. And my boater kind of said the same thing, and then we realized, hey, they're eating craws. He started throwing red, was getting more bites with a fire crab, but they weren't committing to it. He was getting them. So then I grabbed, actually, I think I have it. Yeah, I do have it out. I grabbed one that had just red with green pumpkin, and I ended up culling up twice, and it was what made me make it to day 3. I mean, it was one of them things that had that extra bit of weight that. So it definitely paying to those smallest details. You just never know, seeing a perch just get swallowed down by a smallmouth on Champlain, being like, oh, you're not eating the minnows, you're not feeding on what I thought you were. Definitely yields a lot of insight.
Yeah. And I also feel that if you're thinking about what's going on with the fish and in the water, you don't get messed up in your head, The mental game is still there. It's when you start thinking, well, should I be throwing a drop shot here, or should I be throwing this? And we all do it, but
it definitely gives more chance to do it. Definitely gives more chance to do it.
Kevin has the last question of the night. What are your thoughts on the 2 events on one weekend in the St. Lawrence this year?
I mean, I'm going to say biased statement here, even as a boater, if I was to be a boater or if I were to be a co as this, I think it kind of plays favorites. I mean, as a co-angler from the St. Lawrence, that plays in the benefit for me better. I mean, I feel more confident just with it being my home water. Now, mind you, I usually do worse on my home body of water than when I'm away from places, just due to I'm so set in my ways. But then you have guys that come up here and have only a few spots, and they got to now fish a 2-day tournament. Basically, there may be 2 different points tournaments, but it's a 2-day tournament on the same body of water. They may be running to the same spots both days, and if it's not a productive area for a length of time or have more fish on it, it's going to hurt the guys, or it's going to hurt the guys that are able to spend a little bit of extra money to make the run to a different area, make a run farther, be able to cover more water, may have a bigger boat. I mean, it's saving money. I understand that aspect to it. I definitely could see it potentially doing that. You don't have to make an extra trip. You don't have to book a hotel another time, a different distance away, but you're still away for 2 weekend days, regardless of what it is. You're just not fishing one of the days. I mean, but I think it's cool. Like I said, I like the St. Lawrence. A lot of the guys love the St. Lawrence, so you can't argue that. But I think it's going to play its favorites when we look at the weights for sure.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool if they did like one on Onondaga and one on Oneida, something like that.
Yeah, if you go down, there's no reason they couldn't even do Champlain and then something down the Finger Lakes. I know everybody hates Cayuga's name getting brought up with the grass getting killed and sprayed and all that, and that's a whole subject that can get brought into. But there's so many localized areas down in central New York that you don't have to be in the same body of water to. Yeah. I mean, you have the St. Lawrence up here. You have Lake Ontario. That's your closest one. Or you can go to the Black Lagoon of Black Lake and hope to get a fish and the whole day you're there. I mean, and nobody's going to want to do that. So,
hey, I don't mind. I think I've probably fished tournaments 10 or 12 times on Black Lake and probably cashed a check in 7.
That's good. That's good. That's definitely good. I mean, Black Lake is a tough place. One time I seen some of the elites end up going there after they didn't make the cut. And I go there, I'm like, how'd you guys do? I don't know how you guys fished this place, but we didn't catch a bass. And it's like, wow, the best in the business went to a body of water that used to be back in the 80s, number 5 or number 7 in bass was one of the top bass fishing lakes. And now it's so hard, but yet you'll hear when I work at the bait shop, guys come in that are from Pennsylvania and New Jersey and all this, and just, we're catching so many 3-pound, 4-pound, 5-pound bass, and it's awesome. A lot of them are using live bait, and I think that makes a big difference on such a small body of water that's so pressured. I think that's the biggest yield for them. But I got a plaque up here for me catching almost 20 pounds there, and then I've gone there and I can't catch 7 pounds. I've caught less than 7 more than I've caught 20. So it's a fun place. So it's one of them ones that allows you to mentally grow as an angler, because you can fish all day, and then all of a sudden, at the end of the day, you have an hour window where you can capitalize on. That's how that tournament was. I had 2 bites early. Then I spent about 3 hours, 4 hours without a single bite bass fishing. I literally told my buddy, I'm like, listen, we're going back where we caught these 2 decent fish to start the morning. We don't catch anything. We're throwing them back. The crappies were up in the creeks. I'm like, then we're going to the creeks and we're crappie fishing. And that's what we're bringing back in the weigh-in. And then all of a sudden we got to the spot, fished it. I paralleled the bank. I told my buddy, I'm like, hey, cast your crankbait this way. He casted it. Boom, 5.5 pounder. I'm like, all right. We're going to spend a little bit more. Next cast, 5 pounder. I'm like, oh my God, we got 4 fish now. Like, we're 1 fish away from this. Had to go a whole another 2 hours before we got another bite. But the next fish we got was 3 pounds, and the next cast was a 3.5 pounder. So it's just, those tough fisheries make every bite count, and it's so fun.
Yeah,
it's a grinder.
See, there you go. That comment right there shows, for example, I've had somebody show over a 6.5 pound smallmouth from Black Lake, and I was just blown away. And I wouldn't have believed it was Black Lake if it wasn't. I knew the island. I knew it behind. I'm like, that's awesome, man. But yeah, Black Lake has big ones in it. It definitely does, all around, smallmouth and largemouth.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Hey, you got any partners, sponsors you want to give a shout out to?
I definitely give a big shout out to Rogers Contracting, my employment. They're awesome. They help me get out at all the tournaments. They give me the time off from work. They've been a big title sponsor for me for 2 years now. Hopefully going to be on 3. 13 Fishing, Fish Monkey gloves, big bite baits. I mean, I could go on. I couldn't remember them all off of hand, which is what kind of is bad because there's really not that many. My memory's pretty limited now, especially with kids. They always just keep you busy. But all my sponsors, man, that you guys see me representing fishing, I can't thank them enough. I can't do it without you guys. My family, my wife, she's inside right now, hard at work, doing some Zoom meetings for work, I'm pretty sure. She's my biggest supporter, and it's hard doing it as a family man now, staying committed to it and the mental aspect with it. So having the support there is awesome. So she's my biggest shout out here.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give her a call and might maybe talk to her a little bit about having you miss a tournament or something like that.
Yeah. See, no, like I said, I'm looking forward to this year now. Mentally, I finally committed to it, and I don't care if I don't cash a check, get a plaque. If I learn a few things and I catch a couple fish on a jig this year, it's gonna be all fun for me. So
there you go. And you know what? When I first started tournament fishing, I was told, guy asked me, he says, "Do you fish a jig?" I said, "Nope." He goes, "I don't have to worry about you."
Honestly, it really is true. Even on the river nowadays, and I'll just leave it at this because I don't want to give any more insight on the river and jig fishing. If you don't throw a jig in the St. Lawrence River, figure out what jig you should be throwing and how to, and you're going to catch some big fish. Because I've learned that one here, and that kind of gave me more confidence to start going towards the largemouth. I caught a spotted bass on Hartwell on a jig. I mean, that blew me away. First cast with it, too. I was like, ha, look at that. Tried it day 2, and it didn't work, but still.
And I'll give you a little information. It works on every New York lake.
Yeah. I definitely think no matter where you go, a jig is something you should have tied on. Change your head style, change your weight, and your trailer will make the rest of the difference for you. So
Definitely.
Yep. And that's why a lot of these companies are coming out with what they call the mini jig.
Yep.
You know,
mini jig, and now, much as I hate to continue this video, the lake approved monster jig. I've been seeing that around. I want to get one in my hands just to kind of see what this is. I mean, oh my God, man.
One of my old sponsors made me an 1.5 ounce jig.
Yep.
I've seen 1.5 ounce like punch skirt setups that like you have a big hook that you put to it and it slides down to me. But my biggest jig in my box is that special color you gave me for Cayuga this past season that I didn't get to use. I'm going to keep it in hand, especially for if I have to face you out there again.
Ooh.
That wouldn't be a bad thing to throw on on Potomac, by the way.
Yeah, I was about to say I've got a lot of jigs in a cart right now for the Potomac. A lot of jigs and a lot of chatterbaits that are going to make the old lady pretty mad when I place that order. So
just tell her to work harder.
Yeah. Just extra hard, sell a bunch of product, make a bonus, and then that's my present, you know.
Tell her thinking of it as shoes, just your shoes.
Yeah. That's a good way to
Hey,
put
works
it.
for me. Hey.
Yeah, hopefully I can say it's advancement on what the fish it'll catch and what it might yield, you know. I'm really hoping to fish all the Toyota series this year. I mean, I missed the opens in the Toyota series. I missed that scene. That was fun. I really like that group of guys, that real competitive feel. But like I said, mentally I slipped out of that and it took it away from me, and I'm ready for it this year. I think I'm going to sign up for the Champlain and the wow, that tells you right there. Champlain and Potomac one, and I might leave the other one out for now. I want to get the first 2 signed up for and worry about the later one a little bit later on, that strat. But I want that big scene. That's fun, and I want that chance at a boat. I know you're feeling that, John. It's pretty hard to beat that Phoenix with a 115 opportunity.
Yeah, that is. All right, buddy. Well, hey, we're going to let you go here. Thank you very much for coming on. Thanks everybody for the questions, just watching. And as always, we do have a replay on our YouTube channel, and that's Co-Angler's Corner or YouTube, I should say. I haven't got the website up yet, but something we're working on. All right, buddy.
All right, guys. I greatly appreciate you having me on. Hopefully we'll do it again. You guys have a good night, and we'll see you again.
Hey, you too. Take care, buddy.
I appreciate it, bud.
A lot of information there, sir.
A lot of juice, guys. A lot of juice on that show.
Yeah. And I don't care where you fish, drop shot, jig, all that stuff is going to be coming into play wherever you go.
Definitely. Yep.
All right, so folks, thank you very much. Have a great night. Be safe out there. I know I can hear the wind coming in up here. So
Y'all take
all
care.
right.